The Council's biggest blunder was underestimating humanity. 6 months had passed since the aliens from the Galactic Council first landed on Earth. Their ship remained in orbit, with only a small team staying on the planet to observe and answer basic questions. Most humans had gotten used to seeing the purple-skinned Ambassador Hanbin Lee on news broadcasts. His visits to different countries were no longer front-page news. On the Council's orbital monitoring station, junior analyst Ji-Woo Park frowned at her data screens. Something wasn't right. She had been assigned to the Earth observation team after her concerns were noted, though most viewed it as a quiet demotion for challenging senior counselor Tae-ho Kim's judgment. "Computer, show me human technological development rates over the past 6 months, Ji-Woo said. The screen displayed a graph with a steeply rising line. Engineer Hyun-Woo Yoon entered the monitoring room. His orange skin contrasted with his dark blue uniform. "Still obsessing over the humans?" he asked with a friendly smile. Ji-Woo pointed to her screen. "Look at this data. Their technological progress has increased by 300% since first contact." Hyun-Woo leaned closer. "That can't be right. No species advances that quickly." "I've checked the data 3 times, Ji-Woo insisted. "They're focusing their research on areas where they've seen our technology. Communications, materials science, energy systems, they're making enormous leaps. Have you told Ambassador Hanbin?" Ji-Woo nodded. "He says it's just the natural excitement following first contact. He expects it to level off soon." Hyun-Woo took a seat at his own monitoring station. "I've been tracking their global communications. There's something strange there too. The volume of encrypted transmissions between research centers has increased tenfold." "What are they saying?" Ji-Woo asked. "That's just it. Our translation algorithms can't crack their new encryption methods. They're using techniques we've never seen before." Ji-Woo's eyes widened. "They've developed new encryption in just 6 months? That should be impossible for their technological level." Meanwhile, deep beneath a mountain in what humans called South Korea, Dr. Jin Sung-kwon stood before a room filled with the brightest scientific minds from around the world. On large screens behind him were detailed diagrams of alien technology. "The power source in their shuttle uses a form of energy we've never seen before," Jin Sung explained. "But after studying the radiation patterns, we believe it works by extracting energy from what we used to call dark matter." A scientist raised her hand. "How can we possibly replicate that? We barely understand dark matter." Jin Sung smiled. "We don't need to fully understand it to use it. The aliens' approach is actually inefficient. Our tests show we can achieve 60% of their energy output using a hybrid method of our own design." Around the world, in similar secret facilities, humans were working day and night. When the aliens had arrived, humanity had been given a glimpse of what was possible. That glimpse was enough. In an underwater research center, Defense Minister Jae-hee Ryu watched as technicians tested a new shield technology. The test object, a small metal cube, was surrounded by a faintly glowing field. When a powerful laser fired at it, the beam deflected away. "How long until we can scale this up?" Jae-hee asked. 3 months for a working prototype large enough to protect a small ship," the lead scientist answered. "Maybe 6 months for a city-sized shield." Jae-hee nodded. "Speed up the timeline. Use whatever resources you need." In another facility, Trade Minister Sung Ho-nam sat across from a being that was definitely not human. The visitor had green, scaly skin and large yellow eyes. "So the council doesn't know you're here?" Sung Ho asked. The alien, a merchant from a species called the Trell, made a gesture equivalent to a shrug. "The council doesn't control all trade. Many of us independent merchants see opportunity where the council sees only primitive worlds. And you'd be willing to trade with us directly, without council approval?" "For the right price," the Trell merchant said. "Your world has rare minerals that fetch high prices in certain markets. And your art, quite unique and increasingly popular in some sectors." Sung Ho smiled. "I think we can make a deal that benefits us both." This scene was repeating itself across Earth. While the council representatives believed humans were simply considering their offer of protectorate status, humanity was racing ahead. They reversed engineered every piece of alien technology they could observe. They established secret contacts with non-council traders. They prepared for a future very different from what the council expected. Back on the council's capital world, Senior Counselor Tae-ho Kim received the latest report from Earth. The data showed unusual patterns, but nothing that alarmed him. Computer, compare Earth's development rate to historical records of other species after first contact, Tejo ordered. The computer displayed a comparison chart. Earth's line was noticeably steeper than any other. A junior assistant nervously pointed this out. Sir, the humans seem to be advancing much faster than normal, Tejo waved dismissively. Statistical anomaly. Our measuring systems were designed for longer time periods. No species has ever advanced this quickly. It's simply not possible. But what if they are? The assistant persisted. Analyst Jiwoo Park's reports suggest Jiwoo is young and prone to exaggeration, Tejo interrupted. Our models indicate at least 40 years before humans could pose any diplomatic challenge. This is not worth the Council's attention right now. The assistant bowed and retreated. Tejo returned to more important matters. The Council had governed interstellar relations for 10,000 years. One primitive planet was hardly worth his personal concern. 3 months later, Hyunwoo Yoon made an alarming discovery. He rushed to Jiwoo's quarters in the middle of the sleep cycle. Wake up, he said urgently. You need to see this. Jiwoo followed him to the monitoring room, still groggy from sleep. I detected unusual energy signatures coming from a facility in what they call Antarctica, Hyunwoo explained. He pulled up infrared imaging on the screen. Jiwoo gasped. The heat signature showed something massive being constructed under the ice. What is that? I believe it's a power generation facility, Hyunwoo said. But it's using technology similar to our own stations. They shouldn't have that capability yet. Have you told Ambassador Hanbin? Hyunwoo shook his head. He's on a diplomatic tour of their Asian continent. But that's not all. He pulled up another screen showing orbital data. I've detected small objects being launched into orbit on the far side of the planet. They're using the moon to hide them from our direct observation. Satellites? Jiwoo asked. More sophisticated than simple satellites. Some appear to have maneuvering capabilities. Jiwoo's face showed growing concern. We need to report this to the Council immediately. Hanbin ordered us not to send any alarming reports without his approval, Hyunwoo reminded her. He doesn't want to damage the delicate diplomatic process. Jiwoo made a decision. I'll take responsibility. Prepare a full report with all the data. I'll send it directly to Senior Counselor Tejo. On Earth, the secret progress continued at an astonishing pace. In a meeting with world leaders, United Earth Representative Do-Yeon Choi reviewed the latest developments. Our energy production using the modified dark matter extraction is now at 70% of Council standard, she announced. The SHIELD technology has been successfully tested at city scale, and our first space vessel with faster-than-light capability will be ready for testing in 2 months. One of the leaders looked concerned. The Council observers suspect nothing? Do-Yeon smiled. They see what they expect to see, a primitive species in awe of their advanced technology. Ambassador Hanbin interprets all our questions as simple curiosity, not the systematic gathering of information. And our external contacts? Trade Minister Sung Ho has established relations with 17 Council species and 35 independent worlds. They're eager to trade with us, especially since we offer better terms than the Council. What about defense? Another leader asked. Defense Minister Jae-hee Ryu stood up. We've adapted their scanning technology to detect any Council military movements. Our SHIELD network will be operational 1 month before our deadline to respond. And we've developed weapon systems that, while not as powerful as theirs, offer tactical advantages they won't expect. What tactical advantages? Someone asked. The Council's military doctrine hasn't changed in 1,000 years, Jae-hee explained. They rely on overwhelming force and standard tactics. Our systems are designed specifically to counter those tactics. Do-Yeon concluded the meeting. When Ambassador Hanbin returns for our answer, he expects us to accept protectorate status gratefully. He will be disappointed. Back on the Council capital world, Taeho Kim finally read Jiwoo's report. His initial reaction was disbelief. These readings must be errors, he told his assistants. No species has ever made such advances in such a short time. The data has been verified, sir, an assistant replied. And there are other concerning signs. Several independent trading vessels have been observed visiting Earth, far more than would be normal for a newly discovered world. For the first time, Taeho felt a flicker of worry. Have we monitored these traders? What are they exchanging? We don't know, sir. Earth has developed encryption methods that our standard systems can't penetrate. Taeho's worry grew stronger. Impossible. The Council's biggest blunder was underestimating humanity. The day had arrived. One galactic standard year had passed since first contact, and it was time for Earth to give its answer to the Galactic Council. A much larger Council delegation was on its way to Earth. Their ship was impressive, 5 times larger than the original contact vessel, designed to awe the humans with its grandeur. Ambassador Hanbin Lee stood on the bridge looking down at the blue planet below. He had spent much of the year touring Earth, meeting with leaders and explaining the benefits of protectorate status. He felt confident in the outcome. "They'll accept our terms," Hanbin told his staff. "I've observed no indication they would do otherwise. Their technology is still primitive. Their government still divided on many issues. They need our guidance." Security Officer Sun Mi Kang wasn't so sure. There have been unusual patterns in their activities over the past few months. Many important facilities have gone dark to our sensors. Hanbin smiled. "Merely preparation for their answer. They probably want to surprise us with a grand ceremony. These primitive species often turn these moments into cultural spectacles." The Council ship received a transmission from Earth. "Council vessel, this is Earth Central Command. Please proceed to the designated landing coordinates. Your arrival is anticipated." Hanbin raised an eyebrow at the slightly formal tone. In previous communications, the humans had been more deferential. But he dismissed the thought and ordered the ship to the landing zone, the same field outside the United Nations where they had first landed. As the Council ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, Hanbin got his first surprise. Their sensors detected a network of energy signatures surrounding the planet, a type of technology that shouldn't have been possible for humans to develop so quickly. "What is that?" he asked the ship's technician. "It appears to be some kind of planetary shield network, Ambassador," the technician replied, sounding confused. "But it's not fully active. Just monitoring our approach," Hanbin frowned. "That's Council-level technology. How could they—" He stopped himself. There must be some explanation that didn't challenge his understanding of human capabilities. The ship landed smoothly at the designated site. Hanbin expected to see a crowd similar to their first landing. Thousands of humans gathered to witness the historic moment. Instead, the area was nearly empty except for a small delegation waiting on a raised platform. "Where are all the people?" one of Hanbin's assistants asked. "I thought this would be a major event for them." "Perhaps they're watching remotely," Hanbin suggested, though he too was surprised by the lack of spectators. As the Council delegation descended from their ship, Hanbin led the way, followed by 20 high-ranking officials, including Senior Counselor Taeho Kim himself, who had decided to witness this milestone personally. The human delegation was small but striking. They wore uniforms that seemed to shimmer with an inner light, made from materials that looked suspiciously like Council technology. At their head stood Do-yeon Choi, no longer introduced as United Earth Representative but now bearing the title of Supreme Commander. Even more surprising were the vessels positioned behind the human delegation. They weren't the primitive spacecraft Hanbin had seen during his year on Earth. These ships had sleek designs that incorporated elements from various galactic cultures, and the Council scanners couldn't fully analyze their composition. "Welcome back to Earth, Ambassador Lee," Do-yeon said with a polite bow. "And welcome, Senior Counselor Kim. We're honored by your presence." Taeho stepped forward, his face betraying none of his surprise at the scene before him. "Supreme Commander Choi, we have come to receive Earth's answer regarding protectorate status." Do-yeon smiled. "Yes, we've given your offer considerable thought. Earth appreciates the Council's interest in our development. However, we must respectfully decline protectorate status." A murmur ran through the Council delegation. This was not the response they had expected. Hanbin stepped forward. "Perhaps you misunderstand the benefits we're offering. As a protectorate, we understand perfectly," Do-yeon interrupted gently. "But Earth doesn't require a protector. Instead, we propose an alternative. Earth would like to apply for full membership in the Galactic Council." Silence fell over the gathering. Full membership was granted only to species that had achieved certain technological, social, and political milestones that typically took centuries to reach after first contact. Taeho's eyes narrowed. "That is not possible. Your species has not met the requirements for full membership." You have neither the technological advancement nor the unified planetary government required. Do-yeon gestured to the ships behind her. I think you'll find our technology has advanced considerably since your arrival. As for unified government, I speak for all of Earth through the newly formed Earth Alliance. Hanbin couldn't believe what he was hearing. This is unprecedented. No species has ever developed so quickly. We are quick learners, Do-yeon said simply. Taeho's patience was wearing thin. His voice took on a harder edge. This is not how things are done. The Council has procedures that have worked for 10,000 years. Earth will accept protectorate status, or it will face isolation from galactic society. It was meant as a threat, the kind that had worked on countless other worlds when they showed signs of resistance. But Do-yeon didn't seem concerned. In fact, she seemed almost prepared for this response. Isolation would be unfortunate, she said, especially since Earth has already established independent trade relations with 17 Council species and 35 independent worlds. This revelation sent shockwaves through the Council delegation. Taeho's face flushed a darker blue in anger. Impossible. We would have detected such activities. At a gesture from Do-yeon, a small woman stepped forward from the Earth delegation. This was Intelligence Officer Min-ji Song, head of Earth's covert operations. Our diplomatic missions have been operating throughout Council space for the past 6 months, Min-ji explained. We used stealth technology reverse-engineered from confiscated Drax pirate vessels, then improved upon. Taeho turned to his aides. Is this true? How could we miss this? One of the aides consulted a data pad, his expression growing more concerned as he read. Sir, we have reports of unusual trading activity from multiple sectors, but they were dismissed as routine smuggling operations. If they were using advanced stealth technology, Taeho's mind raced. This changed everything. If humans had already established relations with Council worlds, forcing them into isolation would disrupt existing trade networks. And the technology they were displaying, it shouldn't have been possible. How? Hanbin asked, his voice barely above a whisper. How did you advance so quickly? Do-yeon's answer was simple. You gave us a glimpse of what was possible. The rest was just hard work and human ingenuity. The Council delegation withdrew to their ship to discuss this unexpected development. In the main conference room, arguments broke out immediately. This is outrageous, one official shouted. They've violated Council protocols on technological development. We should impose sanctions immediately. With what leverage? Another countered. If they truly have trade agreements with 17 member species, those members won't support sanctions. Hanbin sat quietly, still trying to process how badly he had misjudged the situation. He had spent a year on Earth observing humans daily, and had never suspected the rapid advancement happening right under his nose. Taeho finally spoke, his voice carrying the weight of 10,000 years of Council authority. We cannot allow this precedent. If Earth joins as a full member after just 1 year of contact, other protectorate worlds will demand the same treatment. What do you suggest? Someone asked. A demonstration, Taeho said firmly. Not of our diplomatic power, but of our military might. Nothing too severe, just enough to show them their place in the galactic order. The decision was made. The Council would send a military force to blockade Earth and demand their compliance, not to destroy, merely to intimidate. After all, even with their surprising advancement, humans couldn't possibly stand against even a fraction of the Council's military power. When the Council delegation returned to the meeting area, the mood had changed. The polite diplomatic facade had dropped. Earth has violated Council protocols regarding technological development, Taeho announced. You have clearly been assisted by outside forces in direct contravention of Council law. Do-yeon shook her head. We had guidance only from those willing to trade fairly with us. We studied your technology, yes, but the advancements are our own. Regardless, Earth will accept protectorate status, Taeho said. This is not a request. The Council has maintained galactic peace for 10,000 years, and we will not allow one primitive world to disrupt that order. For the first time, Do-yeon's expression hardened. We hoped for friendship, Counselor Kim, but Earth will not be bullied or threatened. We have prepared for this possibility. Prepared how? Taeho asked, a note of concern in his voice. Do-yeon didn't answer directly. Instead, she said, the Council has one standard month to reconsider its position. We remain open to peaceful negotiations for full membership. After that time, Earth will formally declare itself an independent galactic power and seek alliances accordingly. The Council's biggest blunder was underestimating humanity. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with activity. Hundreds of alien representatives from across the galaxy sat in rising tiers of seats. Some had tentacles, others had multiple eyes, and some didn't even have bodies but existed as clouds of light. They all spoke in different languages, but tiny devices translated everything instantly. At the center of this impressive gathering stood Senior Counselor Tae-ho Kim. He was tall and slender with blue-tinted skin and eyes that glowed softly in the dim light of the chamber. As a member of the ancient Seolal race, he had lived for over 300 years and had seen many new species join the council. Order. The council will come to order! Tae-ho's voice boomed across the hall. The noise died down as all eyes turned to him. Today we discuss a newly discovered planet in Sector 7, designated as Earth. Behind him, a large screen showed images of Earth, blue oceans, green continents, and wispy white clouds. Then it displayed pictures of humans going about their daily lives, driving cars, working in offices, playing in parks. As you can see, Tae-ho continued, the dominant species has achieved basic industrialization and primitive digital technology. They have not yet mastered faster-than-light travel or unified their planet under a single government. From the lower tier of seats, a younger council member stood up. This was Ji-woo Park, a junior analyst with a reputation for being extremely thorough. Unlike Tae-ho, Ji-woo's skin was a pale yellow color, and small ridges ran along her forehead. Senior Counselor, if I may speak, she asked. Tae-ho nodded with slight annoyance. Ji-woo was known for complicating simple matters. Our standard assessment metrics show something unusual about these humans, Ji-woo said. She pressed a button and new charts appeared on the screen. Their adaptability scores are higher than any species we've encountered in the last 1,000 years. They've gone from simple tools to space exploration in less than 10,000 years. Murmurs spread through the hall. That was indeed unusually fast. Furthermore, Ji-woo continued, they show remarkable ability to change their behavior and technology when faced with new challenges. I recommend we classify them as a priority observation species. Tae-ho waved his hand dismissively. You're overreacting. Yes, they developed quickly, but they're still centuries away from being able to join galactic society. They fight among themselves over resources and territory. They've barely visited their own moon. He turned to address the entire council. I propose we place Earth under standard observation protocol. We'll send a small contact team to assess them more closely, but I see no reason for special measures. The vote was quick. Most council members trusted Tae-ho's experience, and only a handful sided with Ji-woo. Earth was classified as a standard observation case, which meant minimal monitoring and resources. After the session, Ji-woo approached Tae-ho in the corridor. Senior Counselor, I truly believe you're underestimating these humans, she said. Tae-ho sighed. Ji-woo, I've seen hundreds of emerging species in my time. They follow predictable patterns. Humans are nothing special, just another primitive race taking their first steps toward the stars. But their adaptability metrics are just numbers, he interrupted. Numbers don't capture the reality of a species' development. Trust my experience on this. Ji-woo bowed respectfully but left unconvinced. 2 standard months later, preparations for first contact with Earth were complete. The council had selected Ambassador Han-bin Lee to lead the mission. Han-bin was chosen for his experience with primitive species and calm diplomatic manner. His skin was a deep purple, and the 4 fingers on each of his hands were long and elegant. Your mission is straightforward, Tae-ho explained during the final briefing. Introduce the council. Explain the benefits of joining as a protectorate and begin the integration process. Take minimal security, we don't want to frighten them. Han-bin nodded. And if they resist? Tae-ho smiled. They won't, not seriously. All primitive species are awed by our technology. They'll be eager for our knowledge and protection. If there's hesitation, offer them time to adjust to the idea. There's no rush. The contact ship was small by council standards but would still be impressive to humans. It carried a crew of 20, including Ambassador Han-bin, his assistants, and security officer Sun-mi Kang, who supervised the 5 security personnel. Sun-mi was not happy with the limited security detail. Ambassador, I must again protest. We know very little about these humans. Their history shows they can be unpredictable and violent. Han Bin checked his appearance in a mirror, adjusting his ceremonial robes. Officer Kang, the Council has classified this as a standard protocol mission. 5 security officers are more than sufficient for a primitive species. I've reviewed their entertainment media, Sunmi insisted. They constantly imagine hostile alien invasions. They might react badly to our arrival. All primitive species fear the unknown, Han Bin replied. Once they understand we come in peace, that fear will turn to excitement. The contact ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. It took 3 days to approach Earth at sublight speed, giving humans time to detect their presence. As expected, Earth's communication networks exploded with activity when they detected the alien ship. Governments issued calm statements urging citizens not to panic. Military forces went on high alert. Religious leaders offered various interpretations of what the visitors might mean. Ambassador Han Bin observed all this with amusement. It was exactly the reaction the Council had seen hundreds of times before from primitive worlds. See, Officer Kang, they're following the standard response pattern perfectly, he said. The contact ship positioned itself in orbit around Earth. Han Bin sent a message in all major Earth languages. Greetings, people of Earth. We come as representatives of the Galactic Council, a peaceful union of species from across the galaxy. We wish to meet with your leaders to establish friendly relations. After a day of frantic discussions among Earth's nations, they agreed to meet the aliens at a neutral location, a specially prepared field. Outside the United Nations headquarters in New York, Han Bin took a small shuttle down to the surface with 2 assistants and 2 security officers. Thousands of humans gathered behind barriers to witness the historic moment, while millions more watched on screens around the world. A group of 20 humans waited at the landing site. They represented different nations and organizations from around the world. At their head stood Do-yeon Choi, who had been quickly appointed as United Earth representative for this historic meeting. Do-yeon was a woman of average height, with short black hair and an expression of calm intelligence. She had been chosen for her background in international diplomacy and her quick thinking under pressure. As Han Bin stepped out of the shuttle, a hush fell over the crowd. His purple skin and elegant 4-fingered hands made it clear he was not human, despite his humanoid shape. Greetings, people of Earth, Han Bin said, his words translated by a small device on his collar. I am Ambassador Han Bin Lee of the Galactic Council. We have come to welcome you to the galactic community. Do-yeon stepped forward and bowed slightly. Ambassador Lee, on behalf of humanity, welcome to Earth. I am Do-yeon Choi, representing the United Nations of our world for this meeting. The initial meeting went smoothly. Han Bin explained that the Galactic Council was an organization of over 300 species who cooperated for mutual benefit. He described how the Council offered protection, technology, and knowledge to developing worlds in exchange for resources and eventual integration. As a protectorate species, Han Bin said, you would receive guidance and protection until you reach the technological and social development necessary for full membership. This typically takes between 50 and 100 Earth years. Do-yeon listened carefully. And what would be expected of Earth during this protectorate period? Very little, Han Bin assured her. You would allow Council observers to live among you, share some of your natural resources, and agree to Council regulations regarding technological development and space exploration. When the meeting ended, Do-yeon spoke carefully. Ambassador, your offer is generous. However, this is a decision that affects all of humanity. We request time to consider and discuss among ourselves. Han Bin smiled confidently. Of course, such decisions should not be rushed. The Council grants you 1 galactic standard year, approximately 15 Earth months, to reach your decision. As the aliens returned to their shuttle, Security Officer Sunmi whispered to Han Bin. They seemed very composed for a primitive species meeting aliens for the first time. Han Bin nodded. Yes, they're showing admirable restraint. That will serve them well as a protectorate. Back on the contact ship, Han Bin prepared his report to the Council. First contact successful. Humans reacted with appropriate awe but maintained composure. They have requested time to consider protectorate status, which I have granted as per standard protocol. I predict full acceptance within the allocated time frame. No special measures or additional resources required. As the alien ship returned to orbit, Do-Yan met with Earth's leaders in a secure room. "What do you think?" asked one of the world leaders. "Can we trust them?" Do-Yan's expression was thoughtful. The Council's biggest blunder was underestimating humanity. The fleet of 50 Council warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Each ship was a marvel of advanced technology, bristling with weapons developed over thousands of years. At the center of the formation was the flagship, where Admiral Yunji Kwak stood on the command bridge. Admiral Kwak was tall and imposing, with dark red skin and small ridges above her eyes that showed her distant relation to Tae-Ho Kim's species. She had fought in border disputes and put down minor rebellions, but had never faced a situation quite like this. "Status report," she commanded. "All ships in formation." "Admiral," her second-in-command reported. "Weapon systems at full readiness. We will reach Earth orbit in 6 hours at standard approach speed." Admiral Kwak nodded. "Send the message we prepared to their planetary government. Make sure they understand we are not here to negotiate." The message was simple. Earth would accept protectorate status or face the consequences. The Council expected a quick submission once humans witnessed real Council military power. On Earth, Supreme Commander Do-Yan Choi received the message in the Global Defense Center, a massive underground facility built beneath the ruins of an old military base. Around her stood the leaders of Earth's defense forces, including Defense Coordinator Jae-hee Ryu. 50 ships, Do-Yan noted. "More than we anticipated, but within our response capabilities." Jae-hee nodded. "The planetary shield is at full strength. Our countermeasures are ready." Do-Yan turned to the communications officer. "Send our response." The message that went back to the Council fleet was equally simple. Earth would not surrender its independence, but remained open to peaceful resolution. On the Council flagship, Admiral Kwak received Earth's response with a frown. "They still refuse. Arrogant primitives." She turned to her tactical officer. "Prepare to establish the blockade. We'll cut off all access to their world until they see reason." As the Council fleet approached Earth, their sensors detected energy readings all around the planet. Admiral Kwak leaned forward in her command chair. "What are those signatures?" "It appears to be a planetary shield network, Admiral," the tactical officer reported, sounding surprised. "Far more advanced than anything a primitive world should possess." Admiral Kwak's frown deepened. "Can our weapons penetrate it?" The tactical officer ran calculations. "Yes, Admiral, but it would require concentrated fire from multiple ships." "Begin blockade formation," Admiral Kwak ordered. "Position our ships to cover all orbital approaches." The Council fleet spread out, forming a web around Earth that would prevent any ships from entering or leaving. Admiral Kwak expected the show of force to be enough. No newly contacted species had ever resisted a full military blockade. But as the Council ships moved into position, Earth made its first move. "Admiral," the sensor officer called out. "Multiple small vessels launching from Earth's surface and from hidden positions around their moon." Admiral Kwak wasn't concerned. "Their primitive ships are no match for our fleet. Maintain positions." On Earth's main command screen, Jae-hee Ryu watched the deployment of Earth's defense force. The ships were smaller than the Council vessels, but far more numerous than the Council expected. Each was equipped with technology that humans had not just copied from alien sources, but improved upon in ways the Council had never imagined. "All ships in position," Jae-hee reported. "Phase 1 beginning now," Do-Yan nodded. "Proceed." In space, Earth ships didn't attack the Council fleet directly. Instead, they executed a complex dance of maneuvers, darting between the larger Council vessels, making quick approaches before pulling away. It looked chaotic, almost panicked, to Council observers. "They're flying erratically," Admiral Kwak's second-in-command noted. "Is this some kind of primitive attack pattern?" Admiral Kwak watched the movements carefully. "No, they're too organized. They're doing something, but what?" The answer came minutes later when the Council's communication system suddenly failed. Then their sensor arrays began showing false readings. One by one, critical systems across the fleet began to malfunction. "What's happening?" Admiral Kwak demanded. The technology officer worked frantically at his console. "They've deployed some kind of disruption field. Our systems are being affected by... I've never seen anything like this. It's like they've studied our technology's weaknesses specifically. In fact, that was exactly what humans had done. For a year, they had examined every piece of Council technology they could access, finding vulnerabilities that the Council, in their 10,000 years of technological stability, had never addressed. Earth ships continued their dance around the Council fleet, never firing a shot, but systematically disrupting the larger vessel's capabilities. When Council ships tried to fire their weapons, the targeting systems failed. When they tried to coordinate their actions, communication systems garbled the messages. Admiral Kwok slammed her fist on the arm of her command chair. This is impossible. How can they know our system so well? On the bridge of one of Earth's lead ships, Science Director Jin Sung Kwan monitored the effectiveness of their countermeasures. The disruption is working better than expected, he reported to Earth Command. Their technology is remarkably uniform. Once we learned how to interfere with one system, we could affect them all. Du Yan's voice came through the communication system. Begin Phase 2. Jin Sung gave the order and Earth ships changed their tactics. Now they began targeted operations against specific Council vessels. Not to destroy them, but to disable their propulsion and weapon systems. On the Council flagship, chaos reigned as system after system failed. We've lost engines on 12 ships, the tactical officer reported. Weapon systems are failing across the fleet. We can't establish a secure communication channel. Admiral Kwok had never experienced anything like this. The Council's military doctrine was based on overwhelming force and standard tactics that hadn't changed in centuries. They had no protocols for this kind of asymmetric warfare. Launch fighter vessels, she ordered. They have simpler systems that should be less vulnerable. Small fighter craft poured from the larger Council ships, hundreds of them swarming toward Earth's vessels. This was the moment Jae-hee had been waiting for. Activate Defense Pattern Omega, she commanded. Earth's ships suddenly pulled back, creating a gap that the Council fighters eagerly pursued. But as they entered the space between Earth's vessels, a new kind of energy field activated. The fighter craft didn't explode or crash, they simply went dead, floating harmlessly in space. What just happened? Admiral Kwok demanded as she watched her fighters become useless debris. Some kind of targeted electromagnetic pulse, the tactical officer suggested, designed specifically for our fighter systems. The truth was even more impressive. Humans had developed a selective energy dampening field that affected only Council technology, leaving Earth's hybrid systems untouched. As the Council fleet struggled to respond, Earth launched the third phase of their defense. A dozen larger Earth vessels moved into position around the Council flagship. Instead of attacking, they projected a special shield that isolated the flagship from the rest of the fleet. Inside the flagship, Admiral Kwok realized she was being targeted specifically. Full power to shields. Prepare to repel boarders. But no boarding attack came. Instead, all communication systems on the flagship suddenly activated, displaying a single message. Admiral Kwok, we invite you to witness Earth's true capabilities. Before she could respond, the view screens changed to show images from around Earth. The massive energy facilities, the advanced production centers, the fleets of ships that had remained hidden on the surface, far more ships and technology than the Council had detected. This is psychological warfare, Admiral Kwok told her officers. Don't be influenced by these images. Then something unexpected happened. The flagship's artificial gravity shifted, throwing everyone off balance. The lights flickered, and when they came back on, there were humans on the bridge. A boarding party led by Defense Coordinator Jae-hee Ryu. They hadn't used conventional boarding methods. They had simply appeared using transportation technology that the Council had theorized but never successfully implemented. Admiral Kwok, Jae-hee said calmly, your ship is now under our control. Your crew will not be harmed if they cooperate. Admiral Kwok stood tall, hiding her shock. This is an act of war against the Galactic Council. Jae-hee shook her head. No, this is a demonstration. You came to show us your power. We are returning the favor. Throughout the flagship, more human boarding parties appeared, quickly securing critical areas. They used non-lethal methods, disorientation fields, and temporary paralysis devices that left Council crew members unharmed but unable to resist. Within 30 minutes, the flagship was completely under human control. The rest of the Council fleet, unable to communicate with their admiral and suffering from multiple system failures, fell into disarray. From the flagship's communication center, Jae-hee opened a channel to all Council vessels. Attention, Council fleet. Your flagship has been secured without casualties. We have no desire to harm any council personnel. Power down your weapon systems and prepare to receive further instructions. One by one, the council ships complied. They had no effective way to fight back. No contingency. The council's biggest blunder was underestimating humanity 1 month after the failed military action against Earth. The Galactic Council chamber was more crowded than it had been in centuries. Representatives from all 300 member species had gathered for this historic session. Even species that normally sent only digital avatars had physical representatives present. The mood was tense. For 10,000 years, the Council had maintained order in the galaxy through its technological superiority and united front. Now that image of invincibility had been shattered by a species that, just over a year ago, had been classified as primitive. Senior Counselor Tae-ho Kim stood at the center of the chamber, his normally confident posture slightly diminished by recent events. Beside him stood Ji-woo Park, now promoted to senior analyst, whose early warnings about human adaptability had been proven dramatically correct. "The council will come to order," Tae-ho announced. The buzzing conversations died down. "Today we face an unprecedented situation. The species known as humans have requested full council membership, despite having had contact with galactic society for only 1 standard year." Murmurs spread through the chamber. What he said next shocked even those who had been following the situation closely. "After careful review of all available data, and in light of recent events, I am recommending that we grant their request." The chamber erupted in protests and exclamations. Tae-ho raised his hands for silence. "I understand your concerns. This goes against all our traditional protocols. But the evidence is clear." He gestured to Ji-woo, who stepped forward with her data. "Humans have demonstrated technological achievements that should have taken centuries to develop," Ji-woo explained. "More importantly, they've shown a capacity for adaptation that our models failed to predict." She displayed charts showing human advancement rates compared to other species. Earth's line shot upward at a nearly vertical angle, while other species showed much more gradual progress. "Most significantly," Ji-woo continued, "they captured a council military fleet without causing a single casualty. They could have destroyed our ships but chose restraint instead." A representative from a warrior species stood up. "This is precisely why we should not admit them. Their advancement is too rapid, too unpredictable. They are dangerous. They are dangerous only if we make them our enemies," Tae-ho countered. "And we have already tried that approach." The debate raged for hours. Some council members saw humans as a threat to the established order. Others were intrigued by their potential. A few, particularly those from species that had chafed under council restrictions, seemed almost pleased by this disruption to the status quo. Finally, Tae-ho called for order again. "We will now receive the Earth delegation." The massive doors at the end of the chamber opened and the human representatives entered. They were led by Supreme Commander Do-yeon Choi. Flanked by Science Director Jin Sung-kwon and Trade Minister Sung-ho Nam, Do-yeon walked with quiet confidence, her simple but elegant uniform marked with the New Earth Alliance insignia. She showed no sign of being intimidated by the alien assembly or the grandeur of the council chamber, which had been designed to awe visitors with its soaring architecture and advanced technology. "Supreme Commander Choi," Tae-ho said formally, "you come before the Galactic Council to request full membership for Earth. Despite your species having had contact with Galactic Society for only 1 standard year." Do-yeon bowed slightly. "That is correct, Senior Counselor. Such a request has no precedent in our 10,000-year history," Tae-ho continued. "The Council's protocols exist for good reasons, to ensure stability and proper development of new species." Do-yeon nodded. "We understand the Council's concerns. However, we believe that Earth has demonstrated that we are ready for full membership, both technologically and socially." "Your technological advancement has been remarkable," Tae-ho acknowledged. "But technology alone does not qualify a species for membership. There are questions about your methods and your readiness to participate in galactic society, according to established rules." At this, Sung-ho Nam stepped forward. "With respect, Senior Counselor, we have studied the Council's charter thoroughly. Nowhere does it specify a required time frame for advancement. It lists specific technological and social milestones, all of which Earth has now achieved." Jin Sung-kwon added, "As for our methods, we simply learned from what we observed. The Council showed us what was possible, and we found our own path to those possibilities. A council member called out, "But you developed weapons specifically designed to counter council technology. That shows hostile intent." Doyan addressed this directly. "We developed defensive capabilities because we anticipated the council might not accept our desire for independence. The fact that we captured an entire military fleet without casualties demonstrates not hostility, but restraint." This silenced the objection. Even the most skeptical council members had been impressed by humanity's non-lethal response to a military threat. Tejo spoke again. "There is another matter to address. You have already established trade relationships with multiple council worlds without proper authorization. This violates our protocols for controlled integration." Sung-Ho smiled slightly. "We established those relationships according to the independent trade clauses in the council charter. We studied your laws carefully and followed them precisely. If there were violations, they were not on Earth's part." This caused another stir in the chamber. Humans had not only mastered council technology, but had found loopholes in council law as well. After hours of questioning, the Earth delegation was asked to wait outside while the council deliberated. The debate among council members was intense. Some argued that humans were too unpredictable and should be contained. Others pointed out that attempting to contain them had already failed once. Finally, a vote was called. By a narrow margin, the council approved Earth's membership, with conditions. When the Earth delegation returned to the chamber, Tejo announced the decision. "Earth will be granted full membership in the Galactic Council," he said. The Earth delegates exchanged small smiles. "However," Tejo continued, "there will be a 5-year probationary period during which certain restrictions will apply to Earth's activities beyond your solar system." Doyan considered this, then nodded. "We accept these terms, provided the restrictions are reasonable and applied equally to Earth as they would be to any new member." Tejo seemed relieved by this response. Perhaps humans could be reasonable after all. As the formal acceptance ceremony began, Tejo approached Doyan privately. "You must understand our caution," he said. "No species has ever advanced so quickly. It challenges everything we thought we knew about civilization's development." Doyan's expression was sympathetic. Change is often difficult, especially after 10,000 years of stability. "But I believe the galaxy will be better for it." Tejo wasn't sure if that was reassuring or concerning. Following the ceremony, Earth's integration into galactic society began in earnest. Human diplomats were assigned to council worlds, and council representatives established permanent embassies on Earth. Trade agreements were formalized, and cultural exchanges were arranged. Most surprising to many council species was humanity's eagerness to share their methods and innovations. Rather than guarding their technological advances, humans freely offered their unique perspectives and solutions. 6 months after Earth's acceptance into the Council, Jiwoo Park found herself on a diplomatic mission to Earth. She had been among the first to recognize humanity's potential, and now she was helping to build bridges between humans and other species. She stood in a large research facility in what humans called South Korea, watching as human and alien scientists worked side by side on new energy systems. "Your approach is so different from ours," Jiwoo told Jin Sung Kwon, who was giving her a tour of the facility. "The council developed technology in linear paths, building on what came before. But humans seem to combine ideas from everywhere." Jin Sung nodded. "We call it cross-pollination, taking concepts from different fields and combining them in new ways. It's not better than your approach, just different. But incredibly effective," Jiwoo noted. "You achieved in 1 year what would have taken others centuries." "We had motivation," Jin Sung said with a smile. "When the council arrived, we knew we needed to catch up quickly or lose our independence." As they walked through the facility, Jiwoo noticed something else unusual. Council research teams were typically organized by species, with clear hierarchies. Here, humans worked alongside aliens from a dozen different worlds, sharing ideas freely regardless of rank or origin. "Your social structures are as adaptive as your technology," she observed. "We've had thousands of different cultures on Earth," Jin Sung explained. "We've learned that diversity of thought leads to better solutions." The changes weren't limited to Earth. Across council space, the impact of human integration was being felt. Species that had long accepted council restrictions began to question traditional approaches. Younger council members looked to Earth as an example of innovation and adaptation. Some older council members worried about this disruption to the established order. But others, including Taeho Kim, had begun to see it as necessary evolution.